The Gear Forge is the single greatest resource in Raid Shadow Legends. I will argue with you about it. In this video, I'm going to give you 3 reasons why you should be maximizing your Forge potential so that you can make consistent progress on your account. Now, the Forge does have a ton of sets and this could seem a bit overwhelming, but we are going to go over what to sell and what to keep so that you can make sure that you're maximizing your potential. Now, there are a ton of resources in Raid, but I would argue that there are only 4 that actually matter. Champions, energy, gear, and silver. Without champions, you have no one to gear. Without silver, you cannot upgrade the gear. And without energy, you can't really utilize your champions anywhere, except for Doom Tower, Faction Wars, and PvP content. Before we had the Forge, it was really tough to get gear unless you had enough energy to get some quality pieces, but now that is not a major issue because you can get gear without using any energy. This is going to greatly depend on your progress in Faction Wars as well as your progress in Doom Tower and your ability to complete these things, but you do not have to use any energy to get gear from the Forge. Now, the Forge Pass aside, which allows you to get some specific sets, some of the Forge Pass requirements are going to make you use energy. But aside from that, the bulk of it is going to be attained from Faction Wars and Doom Tower. The sheer fact that you do not have to use your energy to get these sets is what makes it so great. And if I didn't say it, that was reason number 1 why you should be maximizing this. Reason number 2 is the amount of silver that can be attained. A lot of these sets are good, but there are some that you can go ahead and just skip over. And a lot of the pieces that you're gonna get aren't gonna be that great as well. And you should just sell them. And if you aren't fully aware of the pieces that you should be keeping, I wrote this nice article breaking down individual pieces with substats that you should be looking for to build specific champions. Go ahead and check it out. I'll put it down below for you. But generally speaking, the Spider Dungeon is one of the best places to farm silver. Aside from that, the bulk of your silver is going to come from selling gear. And what better way to do it than to get a bunch of gear that you don't have to run energy for? Just like when running dungeons, you're going to get a ton of rare gear here that probably is not worth your time, and you should just sell outright. Which takes us on to reason number 3, which is CVC points, which a lot of people struggle with because they don't do it efficiently. But crafting gear during CVC can actually bring you a ton of points. You're going to get a bunch of points for getting a rank 6 legendary artifact in the Forge. And if you're doing 10 pop after 10 pop after 10 pop on sets that you've saved up materials for, you're going to get a ton of points from this. I pretty much only forge gear during CVC, and even more importantly, I only really forge when I have charms because it's about getting the most out of it. You want to maximize your builds. You want to maximize the potential of your champions and your account overall and the progress that you can make. So don't squander it. These resources are precious. But let's go ahead and talk about what we should keep and what we should sell, because there are a ton of sets here and some of them are way harder to get than others. Now, swift parry and deflection can be attained from placing in Platinum Arena. Otherwise, the materials will be attained in Faction Wars. The only difference between swift parry and deflection and resilience and perception is the fact that you're going to need a core hammer as well, or 10 core hammers to forge 5 and 6 star gear, which you can really only get from tournaments and events. So if you're not maximizing tournaments and events, you're not going to be getting these core hammers. You're not going to be able to forge a ton of swift parry and deflection. Swift parry is a great set, definitely worth a keep. Deflection is very niche and is only going to be used in some small cases. You can find use for it, but for the most part, you're not going to be using this set. Resilience, okay, 2-piece set. Perception, one of the better 2-piece sets that you can acquire easily. I generally sell all resilience unless it absolutely has OP stats on it. Resilience and perception, also 2 sets that you do not necessarily have to use charms on. I would not waste charms on them. I would save charms for the better sets. Affinity breaker, absolute garbage set. You do not need this unless the substats are OP. Get rid of it. Untouchable is great. It's a better immunity set. Keep it, especially if you have great substats. Fatal is amazing. You should be crafting this as much as you can for your attack-based DPS champions. Frostbite is very niche, but I've seen a ton of Frostbite comps coming into play play now in the PvP meta. People are using Frostbite on Yuko, people are using Frostbite on UDK. Support champions are coming in getting that 2-piece Frostbite set, and they're, you know, actually bringing a ton of RNG to the game. So if you know you're a PvP player, you should be taking advantage of Frostbite. Otherwise, you probably aren't going to use the set as much, but if you get some OP stats on the gear, you should definitely keep it. It's a 2-piece set, so you never know when it could come in handy. Bloodthirst is an upgraded lifesteal set, and it can be useful, but you're not going to use it on a whole lot of champions. And honestly, the more regen that you get, you're not going to use this set much. Guardian set is amazing. You should 100% be keeping that. Fortitude is a really good set, but I would argue that they just brought a better one into the game. Even though it is a Forge Pass set, it's going to be harder to get. Fortitude is definitely good, especially for champions where you need to build some resist on them. You get a bit of defense as well. It's a 2-piece set. I'm a huge fan of 2-piece sets. Lethal gear is amazing. You should be keeping all of it. Unless the substats are just honestly trash and not even worth oring. If you didn't get any rolls, then yeah, go ahead and get rid of it. Save yourself the time and get the silver. Instinct set is great. Bolster set is great. Defiant set is great. Righteous set is great. And really quickly, let's just go over my thinking with these sets. 4-piece sets are really hard to use, especially if you don't have OP substats on the primary stats that you want to make a solid 4-piece set. It is much more viable for any account to get 2 pieces to make a 2-piece set work. So if you honestly don't have OP Bloodthirst, you need to just go ahead and get rid of it, because the build is going to be mediocre, which isn't going to help you progress your account, and you might as well get the silver to level up something better. So if you didn't already have this in mind, 2-piece sets are amazing because you only need 2 pieces of them. It is much more likely that you're going to get 2 solid pieces than 4 amazing pieces. These down here, the Forge Pass ones, are going to be very, very precious because you can only get them when the Forge Pass is active, and once you've sold the trash ones and you've kept what you could, there's nothing left to get. So I would be a little bit harder on myself about what I keep and what I sell there, but Affinity Breaker can 100% go. If there is no place for an immunity champ on your account, you're probably going to sell a ton of this. But all of this brings me to the main thing that you want to think about when choosing to sell gear, and that is, does this piece provide the stats that I need? And did it roll good enough for me to use? And that honestly makes it tough to just automatically sell anything, but you might get to that point eventually. So hopefully this video was helpful. Hopefully you are maximizing the potential of the Forge on your account. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below in the comment section. I would love to see how people are utilizing the Forge to their best ability, but thank you guys for watching as always. And until next time, be good and be well.